It's time to talk about the finisher, and wondering if he really will play true to that Dirk Nowitzki comparison that he's been receiving so recently as of late. Now, thanks for tuning into another video. As always, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that notification bell and join the Patreon if you're feeling up to it. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get right on into the good stuff. Lauri Markkanen is a 7-footer with a 7-foot wingspan in the NBA. At the age of 26 years old and playing for the Utah Jazz, he has revolutionized his game when finally given the opportunity on his own again to do things more so his way. Now, he does also play for Finland's men's national team, so they just got eliminated in a loss to Japan recently in the FIBA World Cup. But in that game, Lauri Markkanen did play extremely well. He went 10 for 21 from the field, shooting and scoring 2 out of his 7 3-pointers, which wasn't terrific and rather uncharacteristic of him, if I'm being quite honest, but he did have 27 points to go with 12 boards. With that being said, the real reason why we want to talk about him today is because of what he decided to do this regular season just passed us by and what he could potentially do coming up this year and in years to come. He did start out by being drafted by the Bulls back in 2017 after playing for the Arizona University basketball team. When he played for the Bulls in his rookie season, he did average 15 and 7, and he progressively got a little bit better each season when he played with the Bulls for those first 4 years of his NBA career. At first, things looked really bright for him. His scoring went up to 18.5 points, shooting 43% from the field and 36% from the three-point line to go along with 9 rebounds. But then he regressed a little bit, averaging only 14.5 on 42.5% from the field and 34% from 3, while averaging 6.3 rebounds. Admittedly, this was in a season where he played the least amount of games at 50, and to be quite frank, the most he's ever played was 68 in his rookie year. This past season, he did end up playing in 66 games, so it seems like the running trend for Lauri is going to be playing a good amount of games to see just how good he is, but not enough to be there for the entire season. Whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing is entirely up to your own interpretation of the game. For me personally, that's one of those things where it's kind of perplexing because he's healthy, but he's not healthy enough. He's healthier than Zion is, but he's not as healthy as some of the league's most premier players. However, when he does play, he has been phenomenal this past year. He, in 34.5 minutes, averaged 25.5 points, 8.5 boards, 2 assists, and half a steal, shooting 50% from the field and 39% from 3. So these are his greatest splits so far to date, with the exception of his last season on the Bulls when he averaged his lowest points per game in a season at 13.6 when he shot 48% from the field and 40.2% from the three-point line. This is the closest that he's come to touching that level of efficiency, and while he's superseded it overall, he has also managed to basically double his points from that year, which is another important thing because he's only playing 9 more minutes than he did per game in that last season. He obviously got traded from the Bulls to the Cavs, and then from the Cavs, he ended up going to the Jazz, where he is right now. With the Cavaliers, he did average 15 points, 6 boards, and 1.3 assists, while shooting 44.5% from the field and 35.8% from the three-point line. So he's been consistently a very solid role player to have on your team. But the thing that's really potentially going to set him apart going forward is the fact that he has improved his shooting in such a way that it allows him to score in much more efficient and copious amounts at that. The most important thing for him going forward while he's on the Jazz is establishing himself as honestly a top 15 player in our league. We do understand that Lauri Markkanen is trying to change the way that people look at him when they think about the bigs in today's game that are really effective. So much so that the Utah Jazz front office is comparing him to the likes of the Dirk Nowitzkis, who obviously being an overseas player, we understand the context that it comes from, but he's also one of the best shooting bigs, and Dirk is considered to be the best shooting big in NBA history. Some people think that Karl Anthony Towns is very close behind him on that track, shooting as well as he does from the three-point line, but Cat is a little bit softer for my liking than, say, Lauri Markkanen is, so I like this comparison a lot better. That being said, I would like to think that Lauri Markkanen has more help on his roster. Admittedly, the point guard spot is wide open. To me, it's a pretty open and closed case as long as Collin Sexton does his job. But you're likely to see Jordan Clarkson at the 2 and Walker Kessler rounding you out at the 5. And Walker Kessler has essentially decided that he's going to not only be what Rudy Gobert was for them, but be better on the offensive side of the ball, which bodes well for them in future interactions going forward, especially come playoff time, because they thought that they were getting a solid haul for both Donovan Mitchell and for Rudy Gobert. But it turns out they won the Rudy Gobert trade far more than they ever could have imagined, because they ended up getting Walker Kessler out of those 2 deals. Now, there were other role player pieces, obviously, like the Collin Sextons of the world. And as long as Collin Sexton comes back healthy and shooting as efficiently as he did from the field, let alone him and Lauri Markkanen playing on the court together would be lethal. If you add in the defense of Walker Kessler and the scoring punch of Jordan Clarkson amongst the other role players, and you have a truly solid team. Now, they're not necessarily contenders yet. That remains to be seen on how consistent these players can play and how consistently they can be effective while they're both on the court together. But it bodes well if what we saw last year from Lauri is what we can expect for the remainder of his foreseeable future with the Jazz. Dare I say, he might have found a new home if we're being quite honest. Now, across the entirety of his career, he does average 17 points, 7 boards, and 1.4 assists, shooting 45.5% from the field and 37% from the three-point line, while also shooting 85.8% from the free throw line. So the shooting stroke is definitely there. His efficient field goal percentage is 54.5 for his career and 58.6 for last season alone. The most important thing for him going forward is making sure he stays reliable on the defensive side of the floor and being able to be available. Now, people say that availability is the best ability, and while I don't necessarily agree with that, it is important to note that a player, no matter how good you are, for example, Zion Williamson, no matter how good you are at the game of basketball, if you cannot play, people will overlook you and only look at your misgivings. Zion Williamson, for example, is a phenomenal basketball player when he plays. The Pelicans are a decent team, but they're a great team when he plays. Lauri Markkanen, obviously not having played 70 games yet in his career, could use a little bit more in the durability category. But with that being said, it's not as though he's missing an entire season or he's missing over half of the season, because the lowest, like I said, was 50 some odd games that he played. So he is consistently playing over half the season. But the question is, at what points will he be unable to play, and where is the ceiling for his ability to play the game of basketball? We believe that really these numbers are so efficient for him that there's only but so much that he can grow from here. So it's going to be a game of how well can he maintain this level of play and how much strain is it going to put on his body. Because again, at 7 feet and 240 pounds, that's a lot that goes into making sure he can play on a night in, night out basis. And if 70 games, even if you can get 70 games out of him, that is a great place to sit at if I'm the Utah Jazz. Because I cannot be concerned about 12 some odd games, because they're just not, quite frankly, all that important once the playoff picture is set and decided. The most important time to have him is going to be the end of the season when you're gearing up and getting ready to play in the postseason. If he doesn't end up being healthy, then that's when the true problems start. And really, in my eyes, that's the only thing that can hold him back from pushing this team not only into the playoff picture, but into them making a deep playoff run as possibly the 5th, maybe even the 4th seed if they meld cohesively. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Tell me if you expect Lauri Markkanen to be a 25-10 guy next season, maybe lower, maybe higher. Whether you see him being possibly in the MVP conversation, because there will be a time, I believe, maybe not this season, but in the coming years, where if he maintains his level of play and the Jazz do get better, that you could see him in that conversation. And where do you have him ranked come the time for ranking NBA players, more so big specifically? With that being said, thanks for always tuning in. Good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Make sure to like this video, comment like I said before, subscribe, smash that notification bell, and join the Patreon if you're feeling up to it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.